folks, Jim Wallace here, Executive Director of Gun Owners Action League. Well, it's been almost a year now that we've been in this fight for our Second Amendment civil rights in Massachusetts, ever since Chairman Day launched his attack on our community. For all of those who have jumped into this fight with both feet, I just can't thank you enough. If you think your efforts were unnoticed and haven't made a difference in this, all you have to do is look at the difference between the Senate bill versus the House bill. As bad as the Senate bill is, you could tell they at least listened a little bit to everybody who was beating down their doors and ringing their phones off the hook. Certainly, there are some different concerns in the Senate bill than those that are in the House version. As this bill moves forward, we will have to address all of it. Just keep in mind, this fight is not over. There's still a ways to go before this thing gets to the governor's desk, and you have all made a huge difference already. Let's see if we can get across the finish line on this one and kill this thing. A few days ago, the Goal staff put together a compilation of everything from the House and Senate bills combined. It represents everything that is in play as the bills move forward. It's a pretty extensive piece, but we've separated it all by subject matter, and you can find it on the Goal website. With the Senate finished with their part of this, we're not sure what's going to happen next. Likely what will happen is the House will not accept the Senate language, and this mess will go to what's called a conference committee. We're not sure who's going to be on the conference committee. They have to be placed by both the House and Senate, but we do know that once they start their work, unfortunately, it's all done in secret. So much for a transparent political process. Once we know who's going to get assigned to the committee, we need to continue to do the work to educate everybody on how bad these bills are. All of the language is an assault on the most law-abiding community in the Commonwealth. Nothing in either version is going to do anything about crime or mental health. Although we will continue to work on the process to kill the bill, we are also preparing for the likely possibility it will reach the governor's desk. There's been a lot of conversations and discussions around the table here at Goal about what happens next. In the coming months, Goal will start working on changing its footprint in the political world. While it's still very important to have a presence in the State House, working that building post-COVID is not the same as it was just a few years ago. So, here's a quick announcement I'm sure a lot of you have been waiting for a long time to hear. Goal is gearing up to start getting involved in the litigation process and bringing very specific things in front of federal courts should it be necessary. With all of the cases all around the country already being worked on, we may not be able to count on anyone else's help to proceed with our own cases. As I've said many times in the past, depending upon how this bill ends up, it could take several federal cases before all of our concerns are addressed. We know going into this full well that we stand very little chance in the First Circuit federal court system in our area. They have historically been very anti-civil rights when it comes to the Second Amendment community. Perhaps our only hope is if we can get this thing all the way to the Supreme Court before it changes. We are already in talks with a high-level law firm that is qualified to bring cases that far. The Supreme Court only works with lawyers that they have certified, so the average attorney cannot bring these cases through the federal system all the way up to the highest court in the land. During this year-long fight, Goal has not hammered our supporters for donations. It's just something we don't do unless we need some funds. Sure, we ran some raffles, a few normal other things, but we haven't hammered constantly for money, and we hope our supporters appreciate that. I have said often that if we are in need of funds, we'll ask. As we move down this new litigation road, we will need to raise substantial funds. A single case going before the United States Supreme Court could take a few years and cost upwards of $1 million once you get through the entire federal system. That kind of money is no joke. Also keep in mind the last time Goal, with the great help of the NRA, brought a case to the High Court. They refused to hear it. It's their choice. The other thing I want people to keep in mind is that as we proceed with these cases, we're going to be very specific on what we go after. With so many cases already way up in the pipeline dealing with a lot of the current issues here in Massachusetts, it would be a waste of time and a huge amount of resources to bring those forward and duplicate those efforts. For those particular issues, it is strategically wise to wait and see what their outcomes will be as they make their way up through the Supreme Court. We're not going to waste your money on just filing cases to file cases so it looks good. The other thing we want to let our supporters know is how we will move forward even beyond this particular situation. In the upcoming weeks and months, we'll be putting together and putting out information on what types of cases we will look at and what we simply don't have the bandwidth for. For instance, we simply won't be able to take individual license cases. What we will be looking to do is take on cases that will have a much bigger effect for the majority of the Second Amendment community. Aside from picking the specific issues to bring before federal courts, there's also the process of choosing the right plaintiffs. Anyone who might be willing to be a plaintiff in these efforts has to be completely vetted by the attorneys. These folks can't have anything questionable in their background that might lead to a bad precedence in the courts. So as GOAL moves forward and continues to grow, we hope we can count on your support to continue to fight everything that is being thrown at us, and if it is necessary, to bring that battle to federal court. We're also trying to coordinate with other national groups to work with us in whatever may be necessary in the courts so that we are not duplicating efforts. To our supporters and freedom fighters, thank you for everything you have done. Thank you for all of your unwavering support. And just keep this in mind, this fight is not over.